And for more on how the government and the private sectors can help improve women's participation in India's workforce, we have with us Dr. Brinda Jagirdar, senior economist. She retired as chief economist, State Bank of India, and now serves on several corporate boards. And she's joining us live from Mumbai. Welcome to the broadcast, Doctor.
Thank you.
So my first question to you is that what are the reasons behind less women joining India's workforce despite access to education? Latest data suggests that only 10% Indian women are employed.
You know, the numbers may differ, but what your report says that it's factually quite true, that at the entry level you find maybe as many men as women who join the workforce, but as they progress in their career, women tend to drop out much more than the men do. And that is a problem. That is an issue, definitely. Now, why does this happen? That's because mainly women still have a large share of the family responsibilities, raising children, looking after the elderly in the family. And so, therefore, at some point, it is the women who step back, and perhaps that is getting reflected in the workforce. Now, if you look at the labor force participation, the survey which is put out by the NSSO periodically every quarter, it shows that the workforce participation of the labor force participation of women has gone up and gone up much more than the men. And similarly, the unemployment rate has come down much faster in the case of women than in the case of men. So therefore, we see that some changes are happening. And if you look at the Republic Day parade, you can see that it was a show of women empowerment, women in every sphere of the activity, economic activity, every sphere, cultural, economic. And it's really heartening that women are there in the armed forces, also in the DRDO, scientific, moon mission. I mean, they're there everywhere. So therefore, the situation definitely is changing. So I think we need a different survey to capture this change. For example, when the index of industrial production, a few years ago, it was seen that industry seems to be producing more, but it is not getting reflected in the IIP index. So therefore, it was the base year was changed, the classification weightages were changed, because they found that the items that were included in the IIP were things like typewriters, which are not manufactured anymore. And so these were removed, and things like the set-top boxes, etc., were included. So I think it's time now for us to really look at how we measure the labor force. Now, for example, I feel that this is highly biased in favor of manufacturing. But India is a largely services-driven society. And so, therefore, we need to capture this. And also, there is the gig economy that is taking place, and the social sector, which is very, very active. Now, I know people who have quit corporate jobs and taken on influencers jobs in social sector, in social media. They're earning very well. So we need to see how, and contract labor is going up. So this has to be captured in the data. So I'm not too convinced that the CMI data is the last word, but we need to see how we change our methodology to capture the change in society.
Right, Dr. Jagirdar, you speak of how as women progress in their career, they tend to drop out. My second question is just a follow-up on that statement, that what steps have or could the government actually take to bridge the gender gap in the workforce?
Yes, some of it is something which the women themselves have to come forward and take. Like, for example, they need to upskill themselves, they need to be up to date in their work. And they need to be willing to take on more responsibilities and move out to different cities or maybe different areas or wherever. So I think that is required. But it's difficult because, like I said, you need family support, you need daycare. So if the corporates can step in and bridge this gap, so if they can provide them, say, flexible working hours, work from home options, or daycare facilities. So this will really help. And of course, sabbatical leave in between, and parental leave maybe when required, maybe even at different stages of their career. In the initial years, it would be for child rearing. And as they go on, maybe it is for care of the elderly, the in-laws, the parents. So let the women be given an opportunity to take leave at different aspects, at different times in their career. And it's interesting that some corporates are really looking at returning mothers, how to employ, how to take back these women who are really very, very successful in their career but had to drop out for some reason. And now they are ready. The children have grown, they're going to full-time school, and the women are ready to come back to the workforce. So there are some corporates I know who are making special space for such returning mothers. So if the corporates themselves also can be more proactive, then I think, and because there's no way India can become a $5 trillion economy by ignoring such a large chunk of its workforce. So it has to be inclusive. It has to take the women into the workforce and make sure that they retain them. So the corporates have to be proactive, and the participants themselves have to take the decision.
Absolutely,
and I'll tell you,
Jagirdar, women are also...
just one more.
Yes, please.
Just one more point, because like you said in your report, that the share of the enrollment is very high, but the labor force is very low. But so the high enrollment ratio will start getting reflected in the employment figures, say a decade later. And at that time, if there are not enough support systems available, Gen Z may just decide not to have children. So, and we don't want such a society.
Right, Dr. Jagirdar, thank you so much for joining us here on WION and sharing insights with us on this.
Thank you.